reading from the Science of Mind Daily Guides. Well, Science of Mind Magazine Daily Guides. Let me see. Let's just get right on with it because I really do have to be somewhere in the not too distant future. The first quote is from Ram Dass, and the whole thing is called The Second Act. And he says, when you see the beloved in everyone, you don't judge or try to fix them. You simply love them. That's the mirror you polish. A little bit more about this shortly. We must look at ourselves with our own eyes. If we could open up, clean house mentally, and get out of ourselves everything that ails us, I don't care what the poverty is or the misery is, everything would be allowed because the infinite cannot refuse anything. And that's from Love and Law, Ernest Holmes, and it was on page 212. And this is from our writer David this month, who says, at 22, fresh off the bus and full of Broadway dreams, I wandered the streets of New York City, longing to step into theaters I couldn't afford. Then I learned about second acting, a rite of passage among the broke and the bold. At intermission, I'd blend in with the crowd gathered on the street. Then I would nonchalantly slip inside with them as they returned for Act 2. Hence the title, Second Acting. He says, I smile now at that youthful bravado, but I also reflect on what I missed. Without seeing the first act, I didn't fully understand the relationships, the conflicts, or the emotional stakes. I witnessed conclusions without context, resolutions without origin, and I realize now that this is often how we engage with life. We second act people, entering into someone's journey midstream and presume to understand. We form judgments, draw conclusions, and project meaning, all without the full story. Spiritual maturity asks more of us. It asks us to pause before assuming. It invites us to hold consideration for the unknowns in others and in ourselves. To admit, quote, I don't yet know the whole narrative, unquote, and let that become an opening and not a verdict. Assumptions breed suffering, but curiosity breeds compassion. In this play called life, we are perpetual second actors. Let's be humble about that. Let's be willing to pause in the wings before immediately judging what's on an individual's stage. To observe more deeply and receive the full story when or if it's ready to be told. So when I was reading this, a couple of things came to mind. It's one, when I'm at the gym, I see people doing wacky things. And honestly, I don't know why. And one of them is some people get on a machine where you grab hold of handles and you pull. Now, normally when you pull, you kind of do this, but some people just go moving like a couple of centimeters or an inch. Myself and some friends have been wondering why. I think, why would they ever do that? But then we got to thinking, well, maybe there's a reason for it and we should look into it. So right now we're looking into it. So we put judgment aside and assume that there is something to be gained by just moving like, 1 inch, 2 centimeters at a time. So we'll see what happens. But the other most serious one is one I've told more than once. And I told it on Sunday, actually, when I did the announcements at our spiritual center. And that is this, and this is paraphrasing the story. There was a man on the subway in New York, and he had, I think it's 3 or 4 kids, but his kids were being incredibly unruly, and they were disturbing other passengers, running around. And one of the passengers got fed up with it and got up to the man and says, can you keep your kids in order? And he looked straight at this person and said, yeah, I would normally do that, but we just came from the hospital. Their mother just died. And the person who was telling the story immediately changed their whole outlook on the whole situation. And we all do this all the time. We judge others. So there's a difference between observation and judgment. And let's give a quick example. Nowadays, it seems to be endemic that people run red lights. The red light changes and it's like, oh, it's okay for 3, 4, 5 seconds. After it's gone red, we can just carry on going. So when you see someone do this, you've got two choices. You can simply observe the fact that they ran a red light and don't think any more about it, or you can start judging them for running the red light. And I must say, I've done both. So one is judgment, one is an observation. And we do the same thing with ourselves sometimes. We judge ourselves too harshly. Because oftentimes, if somebody else was in that situation and they'd done the same thing, we'd say, well, really and truly, it wasn't their fault because. And often we don't do that with ourselves. So the message I get from this today is step back, observe, and let judgment go the other way for a while. So I surrender my perceptions to the infinite intelligence that knows all. How about that? I surrender my perceptions to the infinite intelligence that knows all. So with that, I'm going to say adieu because I have to get on the road. I have to go to a business meeting, and I know where it is that the traffic is going to be. Well, normally the traffic at this time would be really not good. However, I'm going to know that the traffic just eases out and things turn out really easily. And if you watch this anytime before 5 o'clock Central Time, Tuesday, the 4th of November, please know this for me too. And that is my prayer for today. Namaste.